A lot of noise today. Sometimes that is just the case, isn't it? And there we go. I am live here as well. I'm slightly bit early. We've got 3 minutes before it's 3 o'clock. But that's okay. Wonderful. So, there we go. I decided to draw in ink today. And I've got my sketchbook here. You can see it is here. It's a little while since I made any ink drawings, although I still have my small daily sketchbook where I'm drawing in pen as well. So in this sketchbook, there were some ink drawings here. This week, animal drawings. This was all in ink. Let me remove our reference picture for a second. So this was all ink drawings. And these all a little bit messy. And there we go. You can see the sketchbook is starting to fill up quite quickly already. Then we started to draw some color pencils. And this is sort of my point from the 1st of January. And I had a massive art block. And then I started to just create some really loose paintings, which I actually really enjoy. I think they're loads of fun. So I started to go in really loose with a really big brush and really rough materials. Created some loose illustrations. And this was my live session last night, my community live session, which was a lot of fun to do as well. So we sketched penguins. And then we sketched out. This is his color pencil and a little bit of watercolors. So let me quickly check the time, because we were a little bit early. I think we might slowly start getting ready for this live session. So new page, new day. There we go. I had to cancel last week because I was traveling. But this week I am here. So I've got lots of pens here already. So I'm going to use photos from Pinterest. And I'll save them to my Pinterest board. So actually let me share my Pinterest board with you. Pinterest. So I'm just quickly typing it out here. Just quickly making sure that works, and then we're going to get started. So yes, there's my Pinterest board. I will put it in the chat. So there we go. So if you go to my Pinterest board, you can find the reference photos there. I decided to draw some animals today in ink. So I have a selection of pens here. This one is a bit bigger. That's a brush pen. I have some fine liners here. I have another box of fine liners. I draw a lot in ink, so I have a lot of different pens. You don't need that many. Just one is absolutely fine. I'm going to use fine liner, but you can also use a ballpoint pen or something else. So let me pick one that is a little bit larger. Maybe even a slightly larger one. There we go. So I'm going to start with this size 2 pen, a little bit bigger, and then I might go for some finer pens after that for a little bit more detail and a little bit more precision. Hi Carol, really lovely to see you. Thanks for joining in today. So I know a lot of you are drawing along, but if you work on your own project and just join in to have me in the background chatting to you, that's also really great. I know people prefer that sometimes. It's almost like doing a little creative co-work session. So you can see this is my Pinterest board, and I wanted to pick some animals that had some movement for a change. So unlike some of the pictures that we've done in the past, where they were really still, I wanted to go for a little bit of movement. So we start with something a little bit like not too complicated. So we're going to start with this little cat. So There we go. And my sketches are going to be quite fast, so that means that they're not going to be super precise. They are going to be quite loose on their drawing ideas. So there we go. That's the board that I always use for these live sessions. So my sketches are going to be quite loose and a little bit wonky and quite free. That's the way that I like to draw in these sessions. So this is also the reason why I like to use pen. Because you cannot erase anything, everything is there to stay. And let me check the time. Yeah, it's 3 o'clock. Let's get started. So I'm going to use a slightly bigger pen and just starting to sketch away. So I was traveling last week. I went to the Netherlands, which is where I am from, where I grew up and where my family lives. So I went back home to see everyone. There's some new babies in the family that I still had to meet, and it was just really lovely to see everyone. This piece of fringe is just really annoying, but that's okay. So, deep breath, let's get started. So I like to just move my pen immediately. So, and I am looking at this picture on my iPad, which is in front of me. So, and I really like to just start drawing without overthinking it. If I mess it up a little bit, that is also fine. So this is the kitten's ear. So can you sort of see that shape there already? So you can see, quite loose, not too detailed. So let's add in these marks a little bit as well. It's a really great way of loosening up. So you sort of know it's going to be a bit wonky. And because I know that already beforehand, it takes the pressure of creating something that is perfect. Because perfection doesn't exist. It's this illusion that we have that puts a lot of pressure on us, and that often stops us from creating at all. I don't know if this is something that you recognize in yourself, that you start to draw and then you suddenly think, oh, my drawing is not good enough. And then you stop, whilst in reality, it's not about creating something perfect, it's about spending time with your sketchbook, doing something that gives you joy and fun, and that's fun, something that you want to do. I had this week because I want to send out my portfolio to a lot of magazine editors and stuff. Illustrations are often used for magazines, and this is something that I want to do more of. I've done it a few times in the past, and this is sort of a goal for me for this year, to start increasing that type of work again. And I'm generally quite happy with my art, and I looked at my portfolio and suddenly I thought, oh no, my art is not good enough. I need to completely change it. I need to, so I started to put everything aside and I started to make new art, which was completely different from anything I ever made before. Completely ridiculous. I suddenly had this feeling of none of my art is good enough to actually share with the world. And then I came to my senses and I looked at my art sort of, rationally, and I thought, I actually have great things in there. I don't want to completely change my art style. And I decided to just send out my portfolio with a few small sort of changes instead of, creating a whole sort of new portfolio with completely different art. And so that's what I did in the end. But that feeling where you suddenly look at your art and you think, oh, it's not good enough. No one is ever going to commission me for anything ever again. I really recognize that, and I am a very confident person, but yeah, even I struggle with this at times, so it's something that I definitely recognize. So, cup of tea. So, next drawing, next sketch. I'm just quickly checking if there's any questions. I don't think there is, but feel free to ask away if you have any questions. Yes, I just emailed my portfolio, I think, to 5 magazine editors, and I have a long list of other people that I want to email this to. Yeah, see what comes out of it. Sometimes you have to put yourself out there and see what happens. So these playful elephants, very cute. If you would make this up, these poses and these shapes, you would almost not imagine that elephants would play like this, would you? But, so this is the other elephant. I'm going to go over half of my paper, as you can see. So, something that I've been really enjoying recently is making podcasts. And I don't know if any of you are on Threads. I'm really enjoying Threads, but there's also an option of doing voice messages there. And I'm sort of thinking of maybe experimenting with this a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Does any of you ever listen to any voice messages on Threads? Does anyone do this? I just recently discovered that it's a possibility, and I sort of can't get it out of my head. I'm going to try to see if that's a good way of sharing sort of ideas about illustration and about art and creativity. So this one is a little bit more tricky, and if I completely mess it up, that's okay, because I know it's a challenging pose. Can you see it properly? Do I need to zoom in a little bit more? I think you can see it okay. I have different screens that I open up, one for the sort of streaming, and then one where I can see the chat, and then another one because I'm also streaming this on Facebook nowadays. I can do that at the same time, so I can check Facebook as well in case there's any questions there. So I do make it a little bit complicated for myself sometimes, and that's okay. I like a bit of a challenge. So I personally don't really use Facebook anymore, but I know a lot of you do. Well, that's not quite true. I use it for events, if there's like any local events that I want to go to, but I should really share more on Facebook. It's not really my, it doesn't really feel like the right place for me to be very often. And I prefer sharing things on YouTube most of the time because it's a bit calmer and a bit friendlier, less discussions, and just. So I hope it looks like they're playing and not fighting in this drawing. So maybe a few wrinkles. Quite like him. Maybe a few shadows. This pen is a bit flat, so it has a sharp side and a flat side, which gives really interesting sort of line variety. So I can create thicker lines and thinner lines with it. So I think we're going to the next pictures. So no static pictures today. They're all sort of in movement, jumps, plays, all these sort of things. Let me find our next one. So, don't know what you can see on the screen. So they're probably fighting, aren't they? Let's do something a little bit friendlier. So let's go back, see what I find. Maybe this one. So you can see I've not prepared any pictures. I just go through the. I'm just going sort of through the pages to see what I find. If something catches my eye, then I will pick that one. And that goes also to drawing ideas. I'm still a big Pinterest fan. I don't know if anyone else uses Pinterest. I use it a lot for inspiration, adding things to my board. So there we go. Next animal. I am going to get some new glasses tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to this. I went to the optician and I had my eyes tested, and it turns out they have deteriorated quite a bit since the last time I had them tested. But then that was also 10 years ago. No, maybe, yeah, something like that. Like, yeah, ages ago. I was still working in an office at the time. And so it's not so strange. And I sort of knew that already because my eyesight wasn't, like, I was struggling reading subtitles and stuff. For up close it's fine. For drawing and painting and reading, that's all fine. It's just far away. But I'm very excited about my new glasses. I think it will be really lovely, and I think it will motivate me a bit more to wear my glasses as well, because I am a little bit lazy when it comes to wearing my glasses. I always do when I have to cycle or when I go somewhere. But I also like to, I don't really mind it if I can't see things sharp sometimes. So. There we go, very playful dog. And you might have noticed that if you do a lot of this type of drawing, that it doesn't really matter if a line is a bit wonky or if it's out of place a little bit. And it does get easier as well to sketch straight with ink. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So, see if I can add some of these markings. I'm sort of tempted to add a little bit of paint to these pictures, but I don't have any water here, I think. So, do I have a water brush here? Sometimes I do. It's okay, I wasn't planning to do any painting, so I should stay focused. I sometimes get a bit distracted. Let's find our next picture. So, I think that's very cute. So you can see I'm going through these drawings quite fast on purpose. I know that that is a bit challenging, but I'm doing it on purpose to keep you loose and to let go of perfectionism. So, do we have a bit more space here? Maybe I'm going to use a slightly smaller pen. use this one. And then I will draw this little deer a little bit smaller. I wonder if this is a real photo. It's quite amazing, isn't it? If this is a real photo. So, can everyone hear me okay? So, if you're joining in, why don't you not let me know in the chat where you're from and if you're joining in. I know some of you are here every week, and it's really lovely for me to know who's joining in. See, these lines are a bit finer. So, really appreciate people joining in. It's just really fun. I have so many things in my job. Well, generally, my job is pretty amazing. I love it. But there's a lot of things I need to do that are sort of administration and marketing and a lot of things that are a little bit scary, like setting up my portfolio today. And then doing the sketching with you is just a really lovely, relaxing time that I always look forward to. I'm really enjoying it. So I know this is for me also work, because it's for me a way to promote my community and to people, like usually there's a few hundred people who watch these videos sort of in the next few weeks and who draw along. But I really appreciate that you're joining in live, and it's just really lovely. So these legs, they're a bit more higher up. So do you see what I'm doing? So as you can see, we're really going for movement here. So let's add some freckles. There we go. Hi Awinda, really lovely to see you. It's always nice to have you here. So there we go. Make this leg a little bit darker. See how much finer these lines are in comparison to these thicker lines that we started with. That immediately makes my drawing a bit more precise and a bit smaller as well. So, and I can see how many people are joining in. I can see like this sort of YouTube statistics. I don't know if you've ever done a YouTube live, but you can see all these statistics of people coming in and if people read messages, and it's a big screen. The video is only tiny in the corner, and there's lots of other things going on about the stream health and internet speed and all these different statistics. So that's why I'm sort of switching back and forth between my screens sometimes to make sure that everything is, that you can see everything well. So let's pick another picture. Also, something that I find really interesting, let's have a look at what we've done so far. Something that I find really interesting is that we've only been drawing for 20 minutes and we've already done so many quick sketches. And there is sometimes this perception that you need lots of time, that you need lots of resources to make a drawing, but I really try and bust that idea. So we've already done a cat. That's quite cute, isn't it? Should we do that one? I'm looking for animals that are playing. So there we go. It's quite a big picture though, so maybe I'll go to the next page. I think I'll struggle drawing this in here unless I have to go really small, but I don't really like working small. Recently, since I moved into my studio, I've started to use bigger and bigger sheets of paper, and I'm really enjoy drawing large. So now it's really hard for me to go back to small because I'm really starting to get used to it. I can even hold my paper like this. Should I do that? So let's see how that comes out. It's very cold here today. It's a beautiful day. The sky is like really beautifully blue. It was -6 degrees last night. So when I woke up this morning, there was ice everywhere and it was cold. But now the sun is out, so it starts melting. Yeah, it's a lovely day. After this, I'm going to do some exercise and outside. Let's start with this picture. So you can see again a little bit more complicated. I could start with a fine pen and do a little bit of measurements first. So let's say the wolf head is sort of here. So can you see that? And then the puppy is sort of here, a little bit rounder. So the tiny nose. And then the wolf sort of mouth is here, if its nose is a little bit lower here. See, so I'm sketching, but I'm sketching with pen instead of with pencil. So there we go. So you can see I have a little bit of a sketch. Can you actually see that? Yeah, really light. I have a little bit of a sketch and now I'm going in with a slightly thicker pen, the one that I started with. See if I can make this a little bit more detailed. So let's start with this wolf. This is the nose. So I like the fact that he's going like, oh, something is going in my eye. Like what we would do if we got a hug like this. So, and then this is the pup. Still going for relatively sort of simple shapes. I'm not going for super detailed photorealism. If I wanted to do a really realistic drawing, I would use different materials and I would have a different approach. Let's put it that way. So I actually really like loose drawings, not too precise. So then this big fluffy ear here. It might be a dog. You have a lot of dogs that look like this as well. Then yeah, I don't know enough about wolves to know if this is a dog or a wolf. So I do think they're beautiful though. If I would get a dog, getting this sort of wolf type dog, I think is the one that I would go for. I know that they are not the easiest with families and stuff, but I don't have a family. Well, I have a family, but only adults in my household, so no kids. But then I don't really want any dogs at the moment because I am away too often. So I do think these are beautiful. So I'm sort of waffling a little bit. And let's create a bit of roundness here for that little puppy belly. So the wolf's legs are a little bit sort of straighter and less fluffy. We can't see the feet, but I think I might just make that up. So these little ankles. And then some fluff here. See, this is sort of how I approach a drawing like this. I made up a foot there because we can't actually see it. So maybe a bit of hedging for some shadows here and there. So I'm going in a bit darker in places. There we go. Still no questions. Maybe everyone's really concentrated on their drawings. Sometimes people have questions about illustration or things like that. I'm doing this challenge at the moment, which is it's a challenge mostly meant for illustrators, but anyone can do it. And the challenge is to get 100 no's. So the idea is that you put yourself out there and you send out your portfolio or ask to be on podcasts or write, whatever it is. Maybe if you want to publish a book, you write to publishers. Like it really depends on what your personal goal is, of course. And or if you're a musician, maybe you ask pubs or cafes to play, or like other places, venues, or like things like that, collaborations. So you collect all these no's in a spreadsheet. Like every time when someone doesn't respond, or if someone writes back and said, oh no, this is not for us, or your artwork doesn't suit, or anything like that, you put it on a spreadsheet, and the goal is to collect hundreds of those. And the idea is that you put yourself out there, and that quite often things start to happen before you get to 100. Because, you put yourself out there and maybe it will, lead to things. But the thing is not necessarily for it to lead to things. It's just to, contact people and to make yourself vulnerable that way. And also to see rejection just as a stepping stone and not as an sort of final sort of thing. And so I started doing this, and I think it's a great way of rethinking how these things work. And I think this leg might be a bit short, but that's okay. I think it's a great way to reframe rejection, because it can be so scary. But if you're sort of going for as much rejection as possible, then suddenly it's it's not so bad if someone says no to you. So that's the goal. Have you ever done anything like that? Or is that something that sounds completely new to you? I think I might add in a little bit of watercolor. So I just found my watercolor pen. Whilst everyone keeps sketching, I think I'm going to add a splash of color to this because I think that is fun. See, I can't stop myself. Sometimes I do change things up a little bit. So the idea is I can add some color to the outside of the wolves, or I can add some color to the wolves itself. But I think I'm not going for like realistic brown. Maybe I'll add a bit of purple. See if my brush is working again. So my camera should come back in a sec. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to add a little bit of color, a bit of shadow to the animals. I recently filled these 4 squares, with tubes, and which I never really do. Usually I just bought half pens of paint, but I recently bought some tubes, and usually I just paint straight out of the tube or use half pens. But I decided to use it to refill these empty ones, and it actually works quite well. Who would have known? I know that's what they're meant for, but it's not something that I ever had done before. So there we go. The technique what I'm using here is line and wash. So the line is in ink, and then the wash is what I'm doing now with watercolors. So but I don't have any clean water here, so it's going to be a little bit messy. There we go. I'm just quickly checking if everyone is all right. I think so, and here as well. Lovely. So the trick to line and wash is to not add too much water to your paint, because I like my colors to be really vibrant. And so I'll turn this around a little bit. So I don't add too much water to my paint. I'm just going for really thick colors. So let it drip a bit, it's okay. So there we go. The only thing is I need to let this dry now. I think that's quite a cute drawing. What time is it? I think, what shall I do? I think I'm going to let this dry. And do I have another sketchbook I could quickly use? Let me quickly grab something. This is a sketchbook that I'm currently filling, that I have a few pages that I need to fill still. This is my sort of bullet journal. How do you call it? Like it has little dots, this paper. So I could draw something in here. Maybe I'll do that. So I'll put this one aside and let this one here dry for a moment. So, and then these are all going out of the way. A lot of these are full as well, but I just grabbed the whole pile. I hope you're enjoying my slightly chaotic but relaxed vibe of doing things. So let's pick another creature for our drawings. I think I'll do one or two more. This paper is significantly smaller, so that is going to be a slightly different look. I want a different animal as well. So we've done some dogs, some cats, an elephant. I want something different. The problem with Pinterest is that it has an algorithm, as every media has nowadays. But once you clicked on one picture, it's going to show you more of similar pictures. So that means that if you looked for cats once, then that's all you're going to see, more cats. That one's quite cute. Let's do that one. So in that respect, it is not always the greatest for reference pictures, because what happens is that you just keep seeing the same things over and over again. I think I'm going to use my larger pen again here, because I'm enjoying drawing with that. So I'll just carry that on. So this orangutan. If I start with the fingers, then that goes onto this tree. So I'm just starting really sort of simple. This is an arm. This might be a slightly different way from drawing than what you're used to, because if you are used to drawing a sketch pencil, then going in like this seems quite it's so precise. Like it's instantly, every line is there to stay, and I'm just putting lines down immediately. So this is the monkey's head. Now I need to focus a bit because it looks a bit different than what I usually draw. So these are sort of the eyebrow bows. So I have drawn some apes before, but not it's not something that I am particularly experienced in. So some animals I find a bit easier than others. So little feet. So maybe a little bit less far out. So it's almost like life drawing, isn't it? Just really focusing on the shape that I'm seeing. I don't think the proportions are quite right, but still, for a quick sketch, I think it is quite fun to draw this way. This paper is quite thin, and I bought it because I wanted to try these dotted lines, But it is a bit thin to paint on or to use most materials. But then fine liner doesn't press through too much. So I don't know if you can see that. You can sort of see it shine through a little bit on the other side, but it's not too much. I've had this book for ages. I don't know if I put a date in when I started it. No, I don't think I did. I wanted to practice my sort of live illustration sketchnoting, but I never really got around to do most of them. So I still like the idea of that. I like drawing things on the spot, like what I'm doing now. I quite like someone telling me what to draw and then just quickly drawing it, either from a quick photo or even from my imagination. So it's something that I enjoy, but that whole sort of live illustration is not something that I ever really got into. So never say never, but I don't think it is really the sector for me. So should I add a little nose? I think it looks like a monkey. It's like my messy sketch. So, but if you're ever looking for animals with interesting poses, then apes and monkeys are definitely the ones to look at, because they have so much movement. So I think I'm going to stop that for a second. Also, the walkway is sort of going in this way, isn't it? But it doesn't really matter. Let's see how this is drying. Let's see where we are at. Oh, I forgot to save this one. So there we go. See, it's still a bit wet. I need to leave it open for a moment. Still clear drops here as well. But I think it looks quite fun. I'm quite happy with this one. I think adding a little bit of color, even if it's just a splash, makes quite a big difference. It instantly, yeah, I don't know, I just really like it. I do it a lot, this style. So, but this one has to stay in black and white. I just made that ink a little bit wet. This one has to stay in black and white because this paper is way too small for, way too thin for adding any color other than a little bit of color pencil. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining in. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm just quickly checking if anyone has any more questions, but you can always reach out to me later. If you leave comments underneath, I can always, I get a notification and I always read them. And you can also find me on Instagram and on Threads nowadays, if you just search for Makings and Musings. Thank you so much for joining in. Oh, and before I forget, on Sunday I am hosting another live session in my creative community. It is free for community members, and for everyone else it is £9 to join in. And we are going to sketch and draw in mixed media. There's a reference photo. If you look on my website, you can see the reference picture. And in these sessions, we're really diving into more detail. Yeah, there's much more interactive. And in this case, we're going to explore watercolors, color pencil, and some markers. So yeah, come bring any materials that you have and feel free to join in. And yeah, you can find it either on Eventbrite or on my own website. So yeah, don't forget to check that out. It's 5 o'clock UK time on Sunday is the next session. So really lovely to see everyone. I hope you all have a really lovely rest of your afternoon. I think I'm going to go for a run now before the sun is gone. And I'll see you all soon, hopefully Sunday, and otherwise next week on Thursday. Bye bye.